How do women leaders know if they're burned out? Not just feeling lazy or unproductive, but really on the brink, really being on the brink of burnout or actually feeling completely burned out. That's what we're talking about in today's video. And specifically 10 ways that women leaders can know if they're burned out or on the brink of burnout. So be sure to subscribe, like, and share this video if it supports you. Hi, my name is Trina Parham. I'm a leadership coach and I help women leaders recover from burnout, reconnect to their joy, and figure out strategies and ways to lead and have an impact in the world in a way that's sustainable. So on this channel, I share tools, tactics, and strategies that are practical in nature to help women leaders recover from burnout. And I also share holistic tools like breathwork, meditation, and tarot, wisdom cards, oracle cards, things like that. So if that sounds good to you, you're in the right place, and I'm so glad you're here. So a few days ago, I watched a video on Mickey Atkins' channel, and she's a therapist. And she did a video called Therapist Explains Burnout and How to Recover. How do you know if you're burned out? And it was a really great video, one, because she was talking from a therapist point of view, which I thought was really helpful, given all of the information about burnout on the internet that you can find on social media and all different sorts of places. And she also talked about burnout from a research perspective, and I thought that was really helpful to just hear those tools and strategies from that point of view. And something else that was really unique about the video that I think is really important is she talked about the impact of capitalism on burnout, and it's one of those things that I think we don't talk enough about. And as I was watching the video, it made me think of the signs and symptoms that show up for women in leadership that lets them know that they're burned out or on the brink of burnout. And so I'm not a therapist. I'm a social worker by training, and in my coaching business, I'm not a social worker, not necessarily in that role, although I do use those skills sometimes, but I'm not in that role in my coaching business. So this is, I'm talking about burnout from a non-therapeutic perspective, things that you can do on your own. So, but again, there's some really great points in that video. I'm going to share a link to the video in the description box below, so you'll have a chance to watch that if you'd like to see what she was talking about. So before I dive into the 10 symptoms of burnout for women leaders, I want to give us a working definition of burnout, and I think that's really important to have. And so burnout is constant exhaustion and overwhelm of prolonged or excessive stress, whether it's mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, really all of those over a period of time. So sometimes when you are stressed out at work, it might be due to a project that you have going on. Maybe it's something that you've been working on for the past few weeks and you've had to really push and you've just been feeling stressed out from that. That is not burnout. Burnout is when you've been feeling that that prolonged stress, probably over several months. I would say more than 6 months to a year or years oftentimes, which was what happened with me. I had been burned out for years before I took the steps that I needed to recover. So when you're thinking about whether or not you're experiencing burnout, I would encourage you to think about that. I have some notes here, so I'm gonna just be going back and forth with that, with my notes. So the other thing that I think is really important to know is that when you're depleted and exhausted for women leaders, it can be really hard to recognize because you are taking on so many responsibilities and the workload can be so immense. Oftentimes you're expected to perform these superwoman feats in terms of the workload and everything that you're able to do. And a lot of times when women are leaders in the workplace, they're not only leaders in the workplace, but often at homes and in their communities. So you might be feeling the pull of stress, overwhelm, and burnout, not only at work, but at home and in all these other places. And so that can have a real impact on you. And the other thing that I'll say is oftentimes the systems and structures and policies where you work are often not designed to support you if you're dealing with burnout. And so burnout doesn't happen in a vacuum. So yes, you can recover and you can do all the things to really get yourself in a place where you have more meaning and fulfillment in your life, and you're feeling back to your old self, and maybe you're feeling rejuvenated and energized, which is really where I ended up and where you can end up. But just know that oftentimes systems where you work, whether it is lack of equity in pay or flexibility with your schedule or things like that, or the workload, all of those things really do have an impact on burnout for women leaders. So I just want to set that context, and there are ways that you can tackle those things. And so we're not going to get into that in this video, but I just wanted to make you aware of that. Okay, so here are the 10 signs that you're either approaching burnout or you're experiencing burnout right now. And so the first thing is using all of your vacation time and sick days, but it never feels like enough time off. And so this is something that I certainly experienced, at my last job. I had gone to Hawaii for my birthday, and when I came back, I was feeling good and, feeling refreshed for the moment. And by the end of that first work day, I felt like I had never left. And that was one of the first signs that I knew that something was really wrong and I needed to do something. And it's that feeling of, maybe you use all of your sick days and you're like, oh my gosh, this is nowhere near enough time. Or maybe you go away for a week or two and you realize, okay, I need way more time off, which is certainly something that I've experienced. So if you're dealing with this, chances are you could be experiencing burnout. Number 2, it takes a long time to compose and respond to emails because you can't concentrate or you're feeling brain fog. You're experiencing brain fog. So I'll tell you what this looks like. You can need to write an email, something that's very simple to do that you do multiple times a day, but you end up just staring at a blank screen for several minutes. Or you're finding it hard to access the language or the words that you need to actually send this email out and do what you need to do. And just that moment of sitting there and feeling whether it's anxiety or just, it's just blank in your mind and you're not able to come up with something, that is something, and it happens on multiple occasions. Or where it takes a lot to just get the words together to be able to formulate sentences and ideas and things that you need to send. That's another sign of burnout. I also want to point out that as I go through these signs of burnout, just keep in mind that you're probably experiencing multiple symptoms if you're really experiencing burnout or you're on the brink of burnout. So just know as I'm going through them, you might start ticking boxes off in your head and thinking about which ones apply to you. Okay. Number 3, you're mentally checked out when spending time with family. And so this just means that, you're with your family and you're not present. You're not able to engage the way that you would under normal circumstances, and you're just not in it. And this is something that can happen. And even though it's something that you love and these are people that you love, but you're just not able to be in it the way you have been in the past. And that can really be a sign of burnout. Number 4, when out with friends, you're thinking about your work to-do list and mentally taking notes. So remember that email that you couldn't compose? Sometimes when you're out with friends, you might start to write that email in your head. You're not able to turn work off. That's often what happens when you're feeling burnt out. It's like your mind is going a mile a minute, even though you're supposed to be maybe hanging out, or you're at a concert, or you're just at a friend's house, maybe having dinner, and you're not able to be present in the moment. You've got all these things running in the background. That's another symptom that you're burned out. Little annoyances and minor inconveniences frustrate or make you angry. So little things that maybe didn't bother you before all of a sudden start to really get on your nerves. So I know for me, when I was in peak burnout, and I live in New York City, and I'd be on the train and it could be just someone bumping into me or doing something really simple because there's so many people, would just set me off or make me really mad or angry. And now that I've recuperated, those things don't really get to me so much. It's just like it happens. It's a lot of people, get over it and move on. But at the time, the smallest slight like that could really set me off and really upset me. And so that's a sign that you potentially could be experiencing burnout. Number 6, you never have any alone time. So this is, having alone time is something that is really, really important if you're dealing with burnout. And so if you're finding yourself always feeling every single moment, or every moment of your life is filled with a to-do list, with your relationships and things that you have to do for and with other people, work, all the things that you're responsible for, if you're finding yourself not able to have any alone time and you can't remember the last time you were alone, that's a sign that you're experiencing burnout, because we all need that. And I really, something that I do for myself and I encourage others is to create white space in your life. And this is just really a time for yourself where you're not doing anything, you're not, talking to anyone. It's just time for you to be with you by yourself. And when you can experience that, you're able to feel better and think more clearly, and it really makes a big difference. Okay. Number 7, you have trouble falling asleep or staying asleep. And this is a big one. This is something that I dealt with for a really long time. And even after I recovered from burnout, my sleep patterns really suffered, and it took me a long time to get my sleep back on track. And actually sometimes I still suffer with it, but nowhere near to the degree where it was when I was in peak burnout. So if you're finding yourself unable to stay asleep or fall asleep, it could be a sign that you're dealing with burnout, probably because you can't turn your mind off, and that can be really hard to do. So one of the things that I learned in my journey through burnout is, sleep hygiene. And really, doing things like being mindful of, taking my phone to bed with me, or the temperature of the room, whatever temperature it is that you like to fall asleep to, get your room to that place. So whether you like to be cool when you sleep, or you like to feel warm and cozy, whatever it is, that can really help you with your sleep hygiene. And so just be mindful of that. And also sometimes you just need to kind of tire yourself out during the day, or doing a brain dump at night to get all of those ideas out of your head. I know me, I'm a big dreamer. So, often writing dreams down in the morning does help as well. So those are just a few tidbits that might help you. Okay. Number 8, you avoid phone calls, texts, and DMs because you're worried someone will ask you to do something you don't want to do. So if you're finding yourself just avoiding people, because it's like when you're burned out, even doing things that you enjoy or that you used to take pleasure in can feel like work. So you start avoiding people's phone calls and messages because you're afraid they're going to ask you to do something. And that really speaks to just needing better boundaries with people. And again, that's a topic for another video. But just know that if you're doing this and you're avoiding people, that chances are you're burned out. Number 9, you don't have the energy for non-work related goals and activities. So let's say you've always wanted to, learn the violin or the piano, or even take up running, or whatever it is that you want to do. And when you're not able to focus on those goals and activities outside of work, this is a good sign that you're burned out. So, it really is important to have leisure time, to have time where you're not productive, and where you're not doing something for the sole purpose of having an ending or meeting a goal. And so a lot of times those activities that you that maybe you had on your to-do list that you wanted to try out or just experience just because, if you find yourself not having the energy for those things that you really love, this is a sign that you're burned out. And because a lot of times your mental and your emotional space and bandwidth is taken over by work, and so it can be really hard to even think about taking on another project. Even if it's something fun or that's really good for you, it can be hard to do that when you're burned out. And number 10, when you get home from work, the only thing you want to do is veg out. So first of all, I fully support vegging out. I think it's a great thing to do, and a lot of women leaders don't do it enough, where you're just sitting watching your favorite talk show, or your favorite reality show, or whatever it is that you're into, and just having that veg out time. But when that's all you want to do, because that's all you can do, and you don't have energy for whether it's cooking or just talking to family or doing other things, this is a big sign that you're burned out, because you've given everything away at work, and by the time you get home, you have nothing left in the tank. So this is a big sign that you're burned out. Okay, so that wraps up the 10 signs that you as a woman leader can think about if you think you're burned out or on the brink of burnout. And let me know, did I leave anything out, or is there something, another sign or symptom maybe that you've experienced that you feel like is one of those things that says, yes, this is definitely a sign that says you're burned out? Leave a comment and let me know. I'd love to hear from you and see and just kind of engage with you on that. Also, if there's something that I've spoken about in this video that really struck a chord with you or resonated, let me know. Just leave a comment and I can delve more into that in another video. So just let me know. Also, I have another video that you might want to watch after this one called Back to Work, but it doesn't feel like you've had a vacation. And in that video, I talk, because especially I talk a lot about, the different types of rest that you need. And particularly now, when a lot of people are going on vacation, and if you're feeling like it doesn't feel like you've had a vacation, I go a lot more in depth into that topic in that video, so you can watch that somewhere up here. Just click there and you'll be able to watch that video. So that's it for this video. If you are experiencing burnout and you need more support, I want you to get my free guide, which you can get below in the description box, the 5 mistakes mission-driven leaders make that lead to burnout and how to avoid them. And so if you want to get that free guide, it's a really good place to go next after this video. So just click the link in the description box and you can download that for yourself. So that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. Take good care, and I will talk to you soon.